Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning, our lecturers and friends. We are from Group 5. Today, we would like to discuss about
Morpheme, Morph, and Allomorph. But before that, we would like to introduce ourselves first. My name is Nurul Agustin, and my student ID number is 069.
My name is Bella Aulia Lestari, and my student ID number is 085.
And my name is Adina Karin Sasyami, and my student ID number is 096.
Alright, let's get started.
Morpheme is the smallest indivisible unit of semantic content or grammatical function which a word is made up of. By definition, a morpheme cannot be decomposed into smaller units which are either meaningful by themselves or mark a grammatical function like singular or plural number in the noun. For example, in the word cats, there are two morphemes. Cat, this part of the word carries meaning, referring to the animal, as this morpheme signal plural or more than one. Morph is a physical form representing some morpheme in a language. It is a recurrent distinctive sound, phoneme, or sequence of sound, phonemes. For example, in the sentence, she parked the car, the morphs are she and park. She represents the morpheme she, park represents the verb morpheme park. Another example, the word cats has two morphs, which cat, this is the best form or root morpheme, which carries the core meaning of cat, as this is the plural morpheme, which indicates that there is more than one cat. Each different morph represents a separate morpheme, but sometimes different morphs may represent the same morpheme. These different morphs are called allomorphs of that morphemes. Allomorph or alternan is a morpheme group of different morphs which represent the same morpheme. For example, study the past tense morpheme, end with ed, in the following English word, it. This allomorph is used when the verb ends with the or te. For example, mended, needed, painted, wanted. The additional it helps maintain ease of pronunciation when the base verb ends in a t or t sound. T. This allomorph is used after a verb ending in a voice sounds other than the. Example, cleaned, bagged, wait, judge. Here the d sound blends with the voice ending of the verb. Next, t. This allomorph is used after a verb ending in a voiceless sound other than the. Example, parked, missed, tipped, what. The t sounds follow the voiceless ending of the verb to perceive the consistency of voicelessness. Underlying representation or base form is the form from which the various allomorph or alternans alternative phonetic realization of a morpheme are derived by applying one or more phonological rules. Next material will be explained by Bella.
Next is about complementary distribution of allomorphs. Complementary distribution refers to the way allomorphs or different forms of a morpheme never occur in the same environment or context. Instead, they appear in distinct, non-overlapping contexts. This means that each allomorph is restricted to specific conditions where no other allomorphs can be used. Allomorphs of the same morpheme serve the same grammatical function but are used in different phonetic or grammatical environments. Allomorphs of a morpheme are in complementary distribution if they, first, represent the same meaning or serve the same grammatical function, and then never appear in the same phonetic environment. The English past tense morpheme ed has three allomorphs, t, d, and e. They are in complementary distribution because each occurs in specific environments. 1. T appears after voiceless consonants or sounds made without vibrating the vocal cords, for example, kissed. And then 2 is D, appears after voice consonants or sounds made with vibrating vocal cords, for example, judge. And then the last is id, appears after verb ending in T or D, for example, panted. These three allomorphs are never interchangeable in a given phonetic environment, or you can use T or D where it is needed. Next, the choice of allomorphs is usually subject to certain conditioning. 1. Phonological conditioning, or how sounds influence morphemes. Phonological conditioning refers to situation where the form of a morphemes or its allomorphs is determined by the phonetic, sound-based environment of the word. The choice of an allomorph depends on the sounds that come before or after it, aiming for a smoother, more natural flow in pronunciation. For example, past tense morpheme ed in English. The past tense morpheme ed can be pronounced in different ways depending on the final sound of the base verb. 1t as in mist. This happens after a voiceless sound such as s in a mist, and then 2d as in judge. This happens after a voice sound such as j in a judge, and then the last id as in mended. This happens after verb ending in either t or d as in mant, final sounds d. 2 is grammatical conditioning, or the role of grammar in allomorph selection. Grammatical conditioning occurs when the choice of an allomorph is determined by grammatical rules rather than purely phonological ones. It means that a specific morpheme form is chosen based on the grammatical category of the word or phrase. For example, past tense of irregular verb. The past tense forms of a verb like shake and take do not follow the regular ed patterns but instead have special past tense forms due to grammatical conditioning. For example, shake becomes shock, take becomes took. In these cases, the selection of the allomorph for the past tense is not influenced by the sounds but rather by the grammatical rules associated with this specific verb. 3. Lexical conditioning, or word-specific allomorphs. Lexical conditioning refers to cases where the choice of an allomorph is determined by specific words or lexical items. In other words, certain allomorphs are chosen because of the word they appear with, not because of phonological or grammatical rules. This is often the case with exceptions to general rules in the language. For example, plural form of ox. Normally, the plural morpheme s is pronounced as z, s, or is, but for certain words like ox, the plural is irregular, as oxen, not oxes. The plural morpheme here is a realized as an instead of the typical s because the word ox has a historically unique plural form. And then the last is suppletion, completely different forms for the same morpheme. Suppletion occurs when there is no phonological relationship between different allomorphs for the same morphemes. The allomorphs are completely unrelated in form, even though they serve the same grammatical function. Suppletive forms show no similarity in sound and seem to be irregular at first glance. For example, adjective good and its comparative form better. There is no phonological similarity between the words good and better, yet they are both related through the grammatical function of indicating degree or positive and comparative. Normally, comparatives are formed by adding er, for example, fast, faster. But in this case, a completely different word is used, which is an example of suppletion. Alright, next material will be explained by Edgina Karin.
So next I would like to explain about exploration of key linguistic concept, and we will cover homophony, phonological variation, portmanteau-morph, syncretism, zelo-allomorph, and the last one is empty morph. Let's start with homophony first. This occurs when different morpheme, units of meaning in language, sound the same but have different meanings. For example, consider the word sight in single phonological form can mean sight, the ability to see, site, a location, or cite refers to a source. Similarly with right refers to right, which means correct or a direction, write to formal letters, wright a worker in a specific trade, and rite a ceremonial act. You may ask, why does it happen? So, homophony typically arises from historical shift in the pronunciation when different words converge on the same sound patterns. And next, let's talk about phonological variation of morpheme. A single morpheme may have different phonological form depending on the surrounding sound or grammatical rules. For example, the English past tense morpheme is represented directly in id as in needed, d as in moved, and t as in walked. So why does it happen? It's because this variation help maintain phonological harmony and ease of pronunciation across different contexts. Moving on to pormentomorph. This term describes a single morph that combines multiple grammatical elements. For example, take the suffix s in walks. It represents the third person she, he, it, the present tense, and the singular number. Here, one suffix signals multiple grammatical features simultaneously. And why does it happen? It's because pormentomorphs are in a way of efficiently encode multiple grammatical meanings into a single form, simplifying communication. And next, syncretism is when one form represents multiple grammatical functions or categories. For example, the word walked function both as the past tense of walked. For example, I walked to school yesterday. The past participle of walked. For example, I have walked across the street. Why this happen? It's because syncretism often result from historical changes in language where forms become generalized to cover several grammatical roles. Next, let's examine zero allomorph. These are cases where grammatical feature is indicated without any upward change to the form of the word. For example, in English, the past tense of verb like cut, put, and shut does not alter the base form. Here, the past tense is represented by zero allomorph. No visible changes, but the tense is understood. This happened because zero allomorphs are often used with irregular verb or where the language has simplified to avoid unnecessary inflection. And finally, let's discuss empty morph. These are word-building elements that do not represent any actual morpheme but are included in the structure of a word. For example, in the adjective form from nouns, medicine become medicinal, person become personal, sense becomes sensual, and fact become factual. In each case, the suffix al or ual is added to the base noun. However, in some cases, there is additional element like you, intentional, and factual that doesn't add any new meaning but help form the adjective. So this happened because empty morph often appear due to historical reason or phonological patterns that were once meaningful but have since become redundant or purely structural. And I think that's all from our group. Thank you.
In conclusion, the study of morphemes, morphs, and allomorphs reveals the complexity how meaning and grammatical function are encoded in language. Morphemes are the smallest units of meaning or grammatical function.
Morphs are the actual forms that represent these morphemes in a speech or writing.
And allomorphs are variations of morpheme that appear in different phonological or grammatical contexts, like the past tense morpheme and with ed with its forms it, the, and te.
Alright, thank you for your listening and thank you for your attention.
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.